Idiots need experts. Experts don't need idiots. We need experts to help us idiots. To give us idiots expert running advice. Experts to help the idiots. Hey!
First off, Ashley from MS runs the US. What a story!
So today on Idiots Go Running, we have Ashley. Ashley, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm glad you're on the podcast. And today we've got Matt as well. Matt, how are you keeping?
I'm great. I'm really excited to be here. I've known Ashley for quite some time and really excited for our audience to get to know her.
Tell us a wee bit about your journey and just why you run. Just tell us a bit about yourself.
So why I run, I've been a runner forever. It's one of my earliest memories. I loved distance as a kid. I remember being in elementary school wanting to run the longest race possible. So I know that like running was a gift given to me. And then also my mom lived with MS. And so I saw her lose some of her abilities, function, fine motor skills. And so I think that really amplified my love of fitness and exercise. I realized it's something that I get to do. I got into high school, and that was my first experience with other people that liked running. So I was on a cross country team. I love group running and the cross country team experience. In college, I played collegiate soccer and decided to keep running as my recreation thing. So I continued to run through college and essentially never stopped. Once I graduated college, I decided to just very simply run across America from San Francisco to New York. That was in 2010. I did 24 miles a day, 6 days a week for 6 months. I founded the charity called MS Run the US because I was trying to run across America and raise money and awareness for MS, which my mom lived with, and got to New York. Did not raise my $500,000. I was trying to raise $500,000 and raised $56,000, but met a lot of runners who wanted to do what I was doing. So I created America's Longest Relay Run, and my charity goes across America every year. And I convinced people like Matt that they can do 6 marathons in 6 days. And he ran on my relay team a couple of years ago. So now we're in our 14th season of running across America. I've helped hundreds of people finish approximately 6 marathons in 6 days as a part of our collective mission. And we've raised over $4 million for the cause.
What inspired you to push on beyond the marathon distance? So we're talking, what was the chaos? What was your mindset? What pushed you on?
Well, I decided to run across the country before I had ever run a marathon. So I did not have that experience. And I quit my job, came home, decided very quickly in training that I needed to run a marathon. So I just ran a marathon from my front door. You have to keep in mind, I was a 24-year-old. I did not have a lot of loose money laying around. So once I completed this marathon from my front door, I thought, well, I can do that on my own. I don't need to pay to go run a marathon with people. And at the same time, I started reading about ultra marathon running and was introduced to the concept of running 50 miles and 100 miles. And running a 50 miler really, I thought it sounded really interesting. And I quick Google search, there was a 50 miler 6 weeks from the day that I searched it. And I just registered for it real quick and decided that I was going to run 50 miles through the woods and did 4 weeks of training. That, and I loved it. I loved it. I had a great 50-mile experience. 10 hours, I think 31 minutes was my first 50 miler, and I was able to reduce after that. But I found I just really liked it. And here's what I love about it. You go to the woods, you run like 5 or 6 miles, you come upon a group of people that are like, here's some pretzels and soup, and here's some Gatorade and soda. And then you stop for 5 minutes, you eat some food, and then you go run another 6 miles through the woods. I'm like, so I just get to do this all day, and then everybody thinks I'm an accomplished runner. I mean, like I've just described the best day possible.
You know what, Colin? What I love about this too, Ashley, we throw around the term idiot in a very affectionate way on this show, right? And the way you described that is like the perfect idiot, I would say, which is like, of course, with no experience or like with very limited training, 50 miles sounds great. Like that's what we love too, because it takes a special kind of thought process or belief in yourself, right? Maybe, But at the end of the day, you've got to have this belief in yourself that you can do it regardless, and that's how you figure out that you can do it. So, that's why we say we use idiot as an affectionate term, because it really it is something where you've got to be courageous and bold to do some of the things we runners take on.
Right? I was like, other people are doing it. I didn't put a lot of thought into why I wouldn't be able to do it. So that maybe is the definition of an idiot.
Here is Alex, the guy who ran 300 miles and built Stonehenge.
Tell us about Alex. Who are you and what do you do?
I'm not sure I should go in the expert section. I'm a sports therapist from Wiltshire, treating runners, and do a fair amount of running in my spare time. That's my hobby.
And you say you're not an expert, but you just finished something which was quite intense. Briefly tell us about that.
Every October, I try and do a event for a local children's hospice by me called Julia's House. And each year, I just make something up myself, and I try and make it relevant to either a hospice or somewhere. So I've done all kinds of awful things. I ran Deaf and Blind for 24 hours because they care for deaf and blind children. So this year, because they're local to me, I wanted to do the most Wiltshire thing I could possibly think of. And in Wiltshire, we've got this weird thing where we like to go to other places, steal things of no monetary value and create tourist attractions. So I thought I'll just rebuild Stonehenge. So I started out in the Piccadilly Hills. That's where the Blue Stones are from. And then I headed over to Westwood near Marlborough, where the Sarsen Stones are from. And then I dropped down to Stonehenge. So it was a total distance of 300 miles.
300 miles and you built Stonehenge. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The stones I picked up fit in a naked running belt. They were symbolic.
300 miles, I suppose we'll have to do. You've ran 300 miles. Myself, Matt, and Andrew are attempting to run Mizzen de Malin. What inspired you to run beyond the marathon distance?
So what the reason the first ever time I got into ultras, that was all down to my children. So it was back in 2018, and my boys were quite young back then, and they had this really negative, can't do this, can't do that mindset, which I was really trying to break. So I was trying to instill in them the philosophy of, if you say you can or you say you can't, you're right every time. And I was telling them this, and they just weren't, they're young, they weren't really getting it. So I thought, the best thing to do is to demonstrate it. So up to that point, I'd only ever really run a half marathon, and that was about 10 years before. So I thought, well, I'll do something big. I thought I won't do a marathon because a lot of their friends, mums and dads have done marathons. It needs to be something beyond that. Never knew about the world of ultras at all. I was just Googling, found the London to Brighton 100K. I thought, that's just an insane distance. So I said, right, I'm going to do the London to Brighton 100K because I said I can, I will. And so then they got to see me train and prepare, and then eventually do it. It was an absolute disaster from start to finish. I didn't have a clue what I was doing at all. But I couldn't quit because that would disprove my point. So I think at 62K, I twisted my knee and I just ground the last 38K in. It was awful. Came over the line so miserable, man. I'm actually going to redo that race just to rewrite the ending because I came over so miserable. But Mish was like, that's the worst thing I've ever done. Never been doing anything like it. And then just started signing up to ultras about 3 weeks later. Been doing them ever since.
Introducing Ben the Ultra Bungle. Marathons, Tough Mudder, Ultras. He has done it all.
So today on Idiot School Running, again, we have Ben. Ben last time came on as a guest. Now he's coming on as an expert. Ben, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am fantastic. So we're going to start off, Ben. If people haven't heard the previous episode with you in it, give us a bit of information or even updated information about yourself, because this is your second time on.
Yeah, so I think last time I was staring down the barrel of my first 100-miler. And now I'm after my second 100-miler, which actually was a DNF. Unfortunately, some health complications arose on the last race, and we're working through those with the doctors and trying to see what it is. But yeah, so the first one was completed, second one DNF.
What inspired you to go beyond the marathon distance?
Oh God, that is quite a deep question to start. I think
Always.
well, it started for me in Tough Mudder, and it sort of became accidentally more than a marathon because I did the 8-hour overnight, and that then became a 12-hour overnight. And there was always the thought of the 24-hour, where I thought I would do more than a marathon distance. So I think I might have done my first ultra before my first true marathon, because I figured an ultra marathon was a good way to train for 24 hours of running Tough Mudders.
So you just kind of accidentally fell into it, is what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, blame Tough Mudder.
Derek, the corn on the cob on the expert section?
So today on our expert episode of Idiots Go Running, we have Derek. Derek, how are you?
Great. Doing well.
Brilliant. And I'll also say, today we've also got Matt on. Maybe not as much of an expert, but Matt's on the show. How are you, Matt?
I'm great. I love joining for as many of these as possible, so really excited to be here.
Oh, and we love having you here, Matt. Lying through my teeth, but we love having you here. So we'll start off, Derek. Derek, tell us a wee bit about yourself and why are you an expert, or just tell us about your story.
All right. Well, I ran a 10K race when I was like 11 years old, as far as my running history goes, and I finished first for my age. And then I hung up my running shoes for about another 30 years, I think. I didn't pursue it then, but age 39, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And when that happened, the doctor told me that the quickest way for me to get myself into a wheelchair was to continue smoking. I was a cigarette smoker for like 20 years. And that scared me enough to finally quit. I had tried several times previous to that. And to help me quit smoking, I thought I would start jogging, because the smoking and jogging don't really go together. And I kind of liked running, but because of my MS, when I first started jogging, I had a foot drop, and I couldn't go much more than a mile before my left leg would really get gimpy, kind of drag behind me and force me to walk or take big limpy steps and things like that. I was pretty determined that when I first noticed that limp, it made me think that is the wheelchair grabbing my leg and trying to pull me in that direction. And I just made it in my mind that we're not going to let that happen. And I just continued to run and try to push further. And I thought I had this medical theory about my MS, that it was a problem with the signal and maybe my leg wasn't strong enough. And if I could just keep running and firing that signal down to my foot 50,000 times a day, or whatever the number would be, that if I just kept at it, I could make it stronger and try to lift it higher in that. And it gradually started working. And over the course of, I don't know, I went from a mile to maybe 3 miles, maybe 6 months to a year or something like that. And started gradually getting more. And as that momentum was building, I just wanted to run more. I felt like I was kind of winning. And then I signed up for a half marathon. After I could run 5 miles, I signed up for a half marathon. And it was about 3 months out. And I just thought, you know what? I signed up for it before I knew I could do it. And I just thought, I need that to push myself, to give myself that goal. And once I ran that race, I fell in love with racing and running. You would get in the bib, in the group of people and everyone around. So I signed up for another one, and then another, and then that turned into a marathon, and that turned into 2. And then to step it up, I started traveling around the world to do marathons. I went to Antarctica, and that was my 8th marathon, was Antarctica. And that really just lit me up inside, and I wanted to do more of those kinds of things. And just I thought, I can run a marathon in Antarctica. Why would I stop now? Yeah, my body's in marathon shape. Let's just sign up for another one. And since that day, I've never not been signed up for, I'd say, at least 3 races, like on my calendar, right? Consistently. for probably the last 7 years. And I've continually gotten better and faster. And as this has gone on, my MS symptoms are very, very minimal. I've been blessed and fortunate to not have had like a major relapse in probably 10 years or 8, 9, 10 years or so. And that led me to, after the Antarctica and doing the traveling, I did a marathon on each continent, and that took a couple years. I set that goal. And after that goal, I achieved that goal. Local news picked up on the story, and that spread a little bit. And I had a few articles written about me, and I actually made it to ABC World News Tonight, America Strong, which was immensely flattering and amazing. And because of that, and getting my story out there, Ashley Schneider from MS Run the US had contacted me and said, "Hey, Derek, I think this is a perfect match." And it totally was. And last summer, I ran 160 miles across Nebraska in 6 days and raised over $10,000 for MS research in that.
Now, Derek, I can't let you get away with that story without, I told Colin, Derek is the perfect idiot for us to bring on. And it was specifically because of how you ran your segment of MS Run the US. So, and I know you and I have talked about what we mean when we say idiot. So, our audience is already well aware that this is not an insult, but instead it is a term of endearment. So tell us, what was unique about the way that you ran across Nebraska?
Okay. Now I gave you a good kind of rundown of my running history in what brought me here, but also my whole life, I've always wanted to be a comedian. I actually achieved that and worked as a comedian for several years of my life. And I always just, have a slightly different take on things or want to add something to it and make it more interesting. So I found on Amazon, I was running through Nebraska. I'd never been to Nebraska, and I looked at the route. It's all cornfields. And I thought, man, I'm going to get like a corn costume. So I got this corn hat and a big foam corn costume. And I ran all 160 miles in that costume. And it was better than I could have even imagined. Like when I first put it on and took a couple pictures, I was laughing my head off, and I thought, this is great. I sent it to my family, and their first reaction was instant laughter and just like, yes, yes. And everybody was really positive about it. I wasn't sure how far I could run in it, but when I was wearing that costume, cars were honking and waving and all of that. And that just, every time, it just filled my body with like dopamine, I suppose, or one of those. And it was so inspiring and felt great. So I ended up wearing it the whole 160 miles. I almost threw up once, and that was on the first day. I nicknamed myself the Colonel.
Luckily, it wasn't so hot that the costume didn't turn into popcorn. Little bit of a corny decision on your part, though, Derek, but we'll take it.
It was. Well, I was always telling people if they had any other ideas, I'm all ears.
Gerry O'Boyle, Irish coastal runner. For 9 years, he has been running the coast of the whole island.
I've been running around Ireland for almost 9 years now, since 2017, usually 1 month at a time. I run a bit of the coast and then I go back and start where I finished the previous month. I've been doing it my son has learning difficulties. He went to Clifton School in Bangor, and that's what the run is called, the Clifton Coastal Run, after his school. I raised funds for his school. I came to running probably late in my 30s, probably. I'm in my 60s now. So I've been running over 30 years, probably,
What inspired you to run, I suppose, beyond the marathon distance?
Yeah, I wanted to do something a bit different. And I'm interested in history as well, Irish history and everything, and visiting places. And I probably had the idea in my head. Actually, it started with an idea to run around the coast of County Down, believe it or not. It kind of extended from there, just to do something a bit different rather than just a half marathon or a full marathon.
Yeah.
And it's easier, actually. What I'm doing is really easier than running a marathon, because I can stop along the way, I can take pictures, I can, visit famous places along the way. And it's a more relaxing way of running, actually, rather than having a deadline to meet or a time to beat.
Here's Isaac. He has ran with the best and now sharing it with the rest.
All right, we are here with Isaac Barnes. So we're going to start with who or what inspired you to push beyond the marathon distance?
I had gone from being a competitive marathoner in my 20s and halfway through my 30s. I was teaching school, and then we were also doing this beekeeping business. So yeah, I was feeling burnout with competitive marathons, and I wasn't going to run an Olympic trial time past 35 years old. I just felt that my body wouldn't allow it. But I was teaching school then, and we had 4 kids. This was rough, and it was just transitioning sort of to not feeling competitive to feeling like I need just to run to help my mental. But I want to backtrack. I got into ultra running because of Harvey Lewis. He was a name that I had heard from people in the Circleville area that this guy exists, and I didn't like the fact that people were talking about this unknown guy as being a big runner. And then my wife ended up following him on Instagram. Okay, she's following Harvey Lewis. Found a race that Harvey was running. I can beat this guy. Over 100 miles is his thing. So I was really geared up. Third lap, I ran my heart out, and we passed each other and had a conversation. After I tried to joke with him, and then I'm really flattered. He's talking to me. He asked, who am I? I said, my name's Isaac Barnes. And I almost, at that moment, I was feeling so much emotion meeting this sort of a legend in my mind, Harvey Lewis, and he was warming up to me. And then, so at the finish line, Kelly, I didn't know Kelly. And I think I might have mentioned in this conversation, there's a guy I kind of idolize. He's coming along here. His name's Harvey Lewis. I felt really good. I had beat Harvey Lewis. When he gets up in sight, he's coming into the finish line. She starts clapping, and right then it hit me. This is Harvey's today. I've hit some valleys, but nowhere close to the sort of like life valleys that I hit before getting into ultra running. It is a therapy for me.
Someone who loves running. Joe Manta, the Greek ultra athlete.
Today on Idiot School Running, on our new expert interviews, we have Joe Manta. Joe, give us a wee snippet to who you are and what your story is.
My story is, I'm Joe Manta, yes, I'm an ultramarathon runner. And now I'm all over the world, actually more in Greece and Europe and in the US for the couple of years. And I'm crazy as you are.
What got you into running ultramarathons, and what made you push beyond the marathon distance?
To be honest, I don't like the marathon. I don't. It's too short for me. And of course, it's a very demanding race, definitely. And there are great athletes, marathon runners, but I'm trying to expand my time out there. So what can I do? Participating in ultramarathon races or trainings, you know how it is. So most of my time, my free time actually, I'm out there and enjoying, the struggling. You know that every ultramarathon runner is amazing and very happy with struggling all this time out there with his body and his mind, of course. And somehow the mind is also struggling.
Let's hear about elite soldier Sammy, mindset master.
So, Sammy, tell us a wee bit about yourself.
So I'm Sammy Lapauri. I am from Macfelt, a dad of 4.
And previous to doing what I'm doing now, the personal training and that, I was in the army. I joined the army at 19, spent 13 years in it, and 8 of those were in an elite unit called the Pathfinders, which seen me travel the world and do lots of cool stuff, like jumping out of planes and all that kind of thing. But obviously it was hard to get into it. After getting out then, I lost my way a wee bit, just not being a part of that, and a wee bit more of a calmer life, and I ended up struggling with my mental health. And at the same kind of time that was going on, my friend was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and to be fair, it was one I served with, and me and him would have run quite a bit, and he was a brilliant runner. We would have run up over the mountains and all, and my way of kind of dealing and coping and coming to the terms, because he was in Wales and I was over here, was I would go running, and quite often on them runs I would actually chat to him on the phone while I was out running, and he would get a good kick off me being in clip and just kind of took it from there, and then just like got into the mindset thing of wanting to push myself again. So I signed up for a backyard ultra where I just kind of went down. I wasn't really expecting anything, and I went 130 mile, 129 mile on my first one, finished third. And then, but I knew whenever I finished and I come off it, like a couple of days later, I was just like, I kind of gave them, because the 2 boys that were left had done them before, and I knew they'd done. And I was like, well, I'm not winning this. There's no point, kind of thing. And so I just know there's more in me to give it that way. And then obviously I enjoy the adventure out over the mountains and stuff like that there. So this year I've just kind of been having one big adventure. So it was over in Yorkshire and done the Yorkshire 3 Peaks Marathon along with my mate that passed away's brother. Done it, and then the Northern Ireland 100, and I'm currently training now for Dublin Marathon in a couple of weeks. And then next year it's all back into the backyard ultra stuff.
What inspired you to go beyond the marathon distance, Sammy?
Well, whenever I decided to do, I never had actually run a marathon. I just went straight in and done the quadrathlon up in Donegal, but went in for the hero, 108 miles, just jumped into it. Obviously regretted that, but I think my background probably led to a bit of that there, whereas I was in quite an elite unit in the army, so I was in the Pathfinders, and a part of our testing to get selected for that, we were on the hills and Wales, the Brecon Beacons, and you're carrying big heavy loads on the mountains day after day for a week, and then it accumulates in endurance, where you're doing like 80 to 90k, and you have 24 hours to complete it up over the mountains, carrying like 90 pound in your back. And then I was really, after I had finished that, I was like, geez, you can do a lot more than you think, because I quit about 10 times in that 24 hours, or all the 22 that took me to do it. And then just finishing that there and being like, you can do more than what you actually think you're capable of. And then that's where it all kind of started from there. I would say most runners at some point, especially the ultra runners in an ultra, get to a point where they think they're absolutely down and out, and then 20 minutes later you're feeling as if you could take on the world. And it's just, I like that feeling of like pushing through that pain barrier and keep going, and obviously finishing what you started.
Last but not least, Nick Weston, runner, coach, and runner.
So today on Idiots Go Running, the expert episodes, we have Nick. Give us a wee bit of information. Well, we all know you've been on the show, you've been chatting on the show, you're always giving us advice, but tell us, for anybody who's maybe tuned in for the first time, wee bit of info about yourself.
I have been in endurance sport for well over 20 years. I think about 24 years now. I started off doing Ironman triathlons. I then moved into ultra running, and I've done multiple 100-mile races. I've done multi-day ultras, and more recently I've switched into the road running scene, doing multiple marathons and some of the majors. I've run London Marathon 4 times, and as we record this, I am about 5 days away from the Abbott Age Group World Championships at New York Marathon. So yeah, I've done sort of a variety of endurance events over the years, and I've got a little bit of experience in what not to do, maybe, rather than what to do.
What pushed you beyond the marathon distance? In the early days, what pushed you beyond the marathon distance?
In a strange way, actually, it was Dean Carnaz's, because in a tie-in to Idiots Go Running, and actually a tie-in to the very first time that we ever had an interview. And I read this book. Somebody gave me a book, Ultra Marathon Man, and by Dean, and I was just blown away. So I thought, wow, this sounds like the thing for me. I retired, in inverted commas, from Ironman racing, and I was looking for the next thing, which was a bit harder. So 100-mile running seemed like the thing to do. So that's really what drove me into Beyond the Marathon. And actually, I'd done a lot of marathons before I'd run a proper road marathon. I'd done them at the end of Ironman triathlons, and I'd also done a lot of trail marathons. So I had a slightly strange start to my ultra running career. Came about it in a maybe a slightly odd way compared to some.
That's the 2026 lineup. Yeah, not bad for a bunch of idiots. Advice will be coming thick and fast, and somehow, against all odds, they're pulling out all the stops. Next on Experts to Help the Idiots, can you train your mind?